Hello, welcome to the Women in Motorsports program. Joe Samdiego here, and with me, Ben Schneider from LastCar.info and Grid Encore. Ben, good to see you again. Great that we're back here to talk about the women in motorsports. A lot to chat about, and of course, a big thank you to our Patreon investors, Colin, Michelle, Mark, Robin, David, Matthew, and Crystal, our newest investor. Thank you so much. Link in the video description to our Patreon website page where you could log in, create an account, and invest in us each and every month, as low as $5 to up to $20 a month, whatever is best for you, and help us stay on the air. You can also do a one-time investment through YouTube Super Chat or buy me a coffee. We'll thank you the next time we go on the air. And of course, Ben, we're on the air. We got a lot to talk about. The first topic I think a lot of people are going to be talking about is F1 Academy, and the F1 Academy now just one weekend left, and that is at Las Vegas street course. But this last race weekend at Singapore, it has set up for a nice duel between two drivers. Doriane Pin has a 9-point lead, or Maya Weug entering Las Vegas. So it comes down to really who finishes ahead, as there are 39 points on the line in Las Vegas, 11 points max for the first race, 10 for the winner, plus 1 for the fastest lap. Then the second race, 25 laps for the winner, 2 for pole, 1 for fastest lap. So really, a lot of it comes down to who finishes ahead, and this is always a product because of what happened in Singapore, where Doriane Pin finished 5th place and 2nd place. Seems like a good race weekend. But when we look at Maya Weug, 2nd place, and then a win in the main race to cut the gap down. Now, had Maya collected the bonus points for pole, that would have been something else. And guess what? She did. But Doriane Pin had the fastest lap in each race, preventing her from getting those 2 points. So really, that prevented the gap from coming down even shorter, from 9 to 7. That would have been something else. Maya running a 4 podium finish race rate in the last 4 races, compared to Doriane Pin, who had 2 podiums in the last 4 races. This is just fascinating championship with the points. Every single point matter. Every single position matter. Do you believe Maya has the momentum to steal away this championship from Doriane Pin?
I think so, and I think that would have come as a surprise to a lot of people after what happened in Canada. There were 3 races in Canada, remember, because the second race in Miami got canceled due to the weather. And aside from a 6th place finish in race 3 for Maya Weug, she had no points in race 1 and 2, whereas Doriane had victory, a 4th place, and a 3rd place. So after Canada, I was ready to start saying, we have that phrase around here, one hand on the championship. It looked like Doriane Pin would just have to kind of ride this out for the last few rounds here at Zandvoort, Singapore, and Las Vegas, and she'd be kind of a champion-elect. But that simply hasn't happened. You look at the last 2 rounds, 3rd, 1st, 2nd, and 1st for Maya, and Doriane's only been able to get on the podium in the second races, which is more beneficial for her because obviously those races award more points. Not the reverse grid races. I keep wanting to say the sprint races. I know it's round 1. It awards kind of the same amount of points you would see for a sprint race, but it's because of the reverse grid, not the other way around. But yeah, I mean, it's shaping up to be a great championship battle. Obviously, we'll see what happens after the first round here. But Joe, like you mentioned, there's a 25 to 18 gap from 1st to 2nd in round 2. So if that gap's 6 points or fewer, or 7, depending on how the tiebreaker potentially works out there. I don't know off the top of my head who would have that. It looks like they each have 3 wins to their name this season, and Maya's actually got more 2nd place finishes, so maybe it would be her. But if the points gap is that small, then if one of them wins the race, there's nothing that the other one can do. The points gap is kind of irrelevant if they're running 1st and 2nd there. It's just one that has to finish in front of the other. So it's going to be very exciting when we come to Vegas here in a few weeks' time and see who ends up on top. But you got to give all the credit in the world to Maya Weug. I think it would have been very easy after Canada to just kind of take her foot off the gas and say Doriane's probably going to run away with this championship at this point. But she's kept applying the pressure, and 2 consecutive full race round 2 race wins for her in the last 2 rounds. Job well done, and we could very well see her take this championship away from Doriane Pin. That's definitely a real possibility.
Yeah, Canada was a lousy weekend for Maya. I thought it was going to be Doriane's opportunity to run away. I remember we talked about maybe if Alicia Palmowski could mount a challenge. Chloe Chambers was still a factor as well. But really, Maya Weug has just stepped it up while the others have sort of had issues, faults of their own, to be out of the championship. It's now down to these two. And I have to agree. I feel Maya does have the momentum. She seems to really be bringing the speed. The car is just seems to be working well with her. If she could have two great qualifying efforts, granted, one day will mean if she starts ahead of Doriane Pin, assuming they're both in the top eight, that first race is going to be inverted. I think she's going to be hard to beat, and I'm really curious to see how these cars are going to do in Las Vegas, especially that super long stretch along the Las Vegas Strip. Maybe the slipstream, the draft would be a big factor, and that could be a wild card as well in this race. And yeah, by the time we get to that second race, it could just simply matter who finishes ahead. Phenomenal championship all year long. I know Emily and Ish have been talking and raving about this, and so have we. It's just been fascinating to see how close the competition is, considering a lot of us thought it was going to be a Doriane Pin runaway. Far from it. The two drivers, they're the only two mathematically left in this championship. Ella Lloyd has taken third place in the stands ahead of Chloe Chambers by 2 points, only 2 points separating them. Those two will be battling hard and trying to earn another podium because we saw what happened in Singapore. Each of them had earned one podium, but Ella Lloyd coming on strong. She has one race win earlier this year. Chloe Chambers was fast in that first half of the year, one win, a couple close calls, but just seems like some bad luck and just not so great results in the second half of the year. Are you surprised that Ella Lloyd being able to bring the fight to Chloe Chambers this late in the season?
Yeah, I would say it's a soft surprise. I wouldn't, say that I would have, put this past Lloyd at the start of the year. She did get that race one win in Jeddah, but I kind of expected going into the year that Doriane Pin, Maya Weug, and Chloe Chambers would kind of be the big three, if you will, the three that were contending for championship, probably finishing top three in points, winning most of the races. Obviously Chloe has had some bad luck, like you mentioned, Joe. It's kind of moved her down the order a little bit. I mean, they're very close. Chambers could obviously still finish third in the standings. She's only 2 points behind the mark that Ella Lloyd is set. But we were just talking about Maya not having a very good weekend in Canada. It was a very good weekend for Ella in Canada. 3 runner-up finishes across all 3 races for Ella Lloyd that weekend. So I think she took some momentum out of that and then was fourth in both the Zandvoort races, 7th and 3rd here this past weekend of last race in Singapore. She's done a great job keeping that momentum going, and I think that there's been a lot to be proud of for her and for the McLaren team backing her. They certainly needed something like this after what happened last year. I know Bianca Bustamante obviously got a lot of screen time in the F1, the Academy docuseries on Netflix. Was not the season that she was hoping for. She had a lot of incidents, unfortunately, take her out of contention, and was not nearly as strong of a season as she would have liked in her second and final year in F1 Academy. So for McLaren to have now moved to backing Ella Lloyd and for her to be third in points right now, have gotten them a win, I think they can look at this and say it was a successful year for Ella Lloyd and the McLaren team.
A very successful year. I think very much exceeding a lot of people's expectations, especially I feel like what happened last year, people are thinking, okay, Ella Lloyd's going to come in. Let's see where that team is going to be. Strong start. Some mistakes here and there, but just to bring it home, third place would be huge for that team. But Chloe Chambers is going to be very hard to beat. She is determined to go there, have a good results, and just see where her career will progress. 2 drivers that a lot of us thought could be contenders, but are sort of out of it. Alicia Palmowski started off the year with quite a good number of results, but unfortunately out of contention for third place because she DNF and finished 15th at Singapore, one of her worst race weekends. Overall, she only has 3 finishes outside the points, with 2 of them being at Singapore, the other one in Canada. Assuming she's going to return back next year, would you say she's one of the early favorites for this championship, and surprised that she couldn't improve from 5th this year?
Yeah, I think it's a little early to start listing off championship favorites. Obviously, just looking at her results, she did only do a wild card in 24, so she would be eligible for a second full season next year. should she come back. I think she would be a contender to certainly build off of her opening win in Shanghai and maybe make a run of a championship. Who knows what the grid is going to look like next year. I suppose, we were just talking about Lloyd. Obviously, she was also only a wild card last year at Singapore, so I'm sure she's going to be a contender if she comes back as well. But just again, looking at the standings here, if I can pull them back up, it looks like she's 28, if I'm doing the math right, from off of Ella's mark here in third place. So not mathematically out of contention, but we talk about on the show frequently. There's realistic contention and versus mathematical contention. She would probably need to go out and if not sweep the weekend, have podiums in both races and win the second race at the very least where there's max points. And even then need some help from Ella Lloyd and Chloe Chambers, only 2 back off of her mark to DNF in the second race especially. So she's probably going to end up in 5th here, I suppose, if Nina Gaidman has a strong weekend, or Alba Larson as well. They're also in contention to potentially overtake her, but looking like she's going to end up 5th in the standings, and I think that's a very solid result for her. And like you mentioned, Joe, she could keep that momentum going potentially to come back for a second season. I certainly wouldn't put a championship run past her, again, depending on what the rest of the grid looks like as we get into 2026.
Yeah, I know last year a lot of us talked about, Doriane Pin, the easy favorite for next year, still showing that can't really bank on any way to be a dominant favorite until we get to that season. It's going to be very interesting. I'd love to see Alicia come back next year. Singapore overall, that track has been known for making surprise results. Not just F1 Academy, but even when W Series were there. I think of when we were talking about then, Jamie Chadwick having a near perfect season came to a halt at Singapore. This year, the big surprise, Leah Block taking a win, her second podium of the year, and second consecutive race weekend with a podium, both times occurring in the first race of the weekend. So she scored a big win, becoming the second American driver to do so this season, following Chloe Chambers. She moves to 10th in the standings. We've been seeing her improve a lot, considering she comes from an off-road background, now to open wheel racing, single seaters. How big is this for her career and for Americans, seeing now 2 American drivers have won this year?
Yeah, so thrilled for Leah Block. Obviously she had a great run. Zandvoort finishing second. It was Nina Gaidman's home race. I don't think very, very many people were complaining about the result on that one. It certainly would have been nice to see Leah pick up her first win wherever it was this year, but I'm glad Nina got that one at her home race, and Leah got to celebrate here at Singapore, also on the reverse grid. Race 1, and like I said, it's been a challenging season for Leah. Through Miami, she only had a couple of points that she scored in the second race in Shanghai. So, for her to be able to bounce back kind of the second half of this year and have some good runs here in these reverse grid races, she didn't have such great fortune. Only 17th in the second race, full points race in Singapore, as was the case in Zandvoort, only finishing 12th there. So it's unfortunate she's missed out on those opportunities to score the big points, and that's kind of hurt her in the season ranking standings here a little bit. She's only in 10th place. She could jump a little bit higher than that, depending on what I guess we could consider her second home race in Las Vegas is going to go here to close out the season. But for her to be able to have stood on the podium a couple times now, because that's the other thing. She hadn't had a podium even before Zandvoort. She had finished on the podium on the road in Abu Dhabi last year, but obviously had that penalty take that away from her. So to be able to have these last 2 strong reverse grid races, I think is a big confidence boost for her. Obviously, it's her second year, so she won't be back in F1 Academy in 2026, but we'll see if Williams continues to back her through their driver academy or where she might end up. Obviously, she's still active in rally, and I don't know if that's the path that she's going to want to take long term, but she has made tremendous progress in the single seater side of her career over the last 2 seasons, and I'm excited to see where that takes her next year.
Next year is going to be a lot of fun to see how everything all shapes up for Leah Block, and of course we'll be following right here on the Grid Network. Still, one more race weekend. Las Vegas, W Series, season finale, under the lights. This is going to be a fun race weekend. It's going to come down to 2 drivers bound for the championship. Really, the simple message, finish ahead of the other. Great season-long, year-long points battle between them. With that said, let's switch over to the ARCA Menards series. The 2025 ARCA Menards series season is over, and we have a champion crown in Brendan Queen. Fourth in the final standings, Isabel Robusto, 9 top 5 finishes and 14 top 10s. Fourth place last year in the stands was Tony Bredinger, who had 11 top 10s but no top 5s. And with Isabel claiming fourth place in the stands, this extends the streak of at least one female racer in the top 10 of the standings, which started in 2020 with Haley Deegan. That continues. So overall, Ben, fourth place for Isabella Robusto. Where does her 2025 season rank when you compare it to past drivers like Amber Balkan, Tony Brenninger, and even Haley Deegan?
I think it's probably better than Balkan and Breininger. Maybe not quite as strong as Deegan's was. I know Deegan obviously had made the switch to Ford at the point where she moved up to the ARCA series. She finished third in the standings, if I remember correctly, and had a pair of runner-up finishes at Daytona and then one of the dirt tracks to close out the year. I think that was the second to last race. But first of all, I also want to extend an apology. Apparently, we've all been saying her last name wrong. I saw on the Fox Sports broadcast, they were mentioning her grandfather saying that she always enjoys watching her race and saying that the broadcast always gets her name wrong. Apparently, it's Isabella Robusto, and Fox Sports had tried to keep that up for the last 2 rounds of the year, but I wouldn't worry about that if we're any of us here. Apparently, we've all been saying it wrong all the last 2 years, and she hasn't bothered to correct us. It clearly doesn't bother her that much, but we'll try to make that change here going into 2026 and beyond for whatever Isabella is driving next year, where she's competing. But I think her season as a whole was good, not great. I would have expected her to be in contention for a couple of wins based on how her partial season went in 2024. But I think she's still on most race weekends got a maximized potential out of her race car. Obviously, it's very tough. Brendan Queen, like you mentioned, Joe, just really ran away with this championship, 8 race wins, and we expect him to probably be in a colleague truck next year. So he did a great job, and obviously the Gibbs car is so difficult to beat, no matter who's driving it. But the Venturini team, obviously, we'll talk about them here a little bit more in just a moment. They have a long storied history of having a lot of great female talent come through their organization. And Isabella was no exception here. And I think for her to finish the year 4th in points, she probably would have liked to have been a little bit higher than that, would have liked to maybe be up there battling for second with LeVar Scott. And she had some bad luck at the start of the year. Take her out, that kind of put her at a points deficit that she had to spend the rest of the year crawling her way out of. But still a solid season for her nonetheless, and hopefully something to build on for 2026.
Isabel Robusto, we're definitely going to be following her throughout 2026. But of course, we need to know what's going to be her plans, because some of the big news that came out, Venturini Motorsports selling their race team to Nitro Motorsports and will not be back in ARCA in 2026. The team's last race was in the West Series just this past Friday, the bull ring at Las Vegas Motor Speedway in the Star Nursery 150, where they had Jade Averson in the field in the number 20.
Jade Avedisian, yeah.
Jade Avedisian, excuse me, in the number 20 Mobile One Toyota. She finished 12th, but even at one point, she got spun around, had to keep going. Venturini, of course, they've had drivers like Amber Balkan, Tony Brannigan, giving them their opportunities in the team. What a shock was this to see that Venturini will depart ARCA after 43 years of competition.
Yeah, certainly not news that I expected. I suppose when you think about how long Big Bill Venturini and Kathy Venturini have been around this sport, it makes sense that they want to take a step back and kind of enjoy retirement, so to speak. But at the same time, it is a massive shift for the ARCA Menards series. This is a team that has had so much success, won over 100 races, had so many great talented drivers come through their organization. I just saw Joey Logano being interviewed this weekend as well. Him talking about how instrumental Venturini was in giving him a couple of ARCA starts to start off his career when he was coming through the Toyota pipeline, Toyota Racing Development, and just the amount of drivers that have run a race for them or been a part of their development journey over the years that have gone on to achieve so much success in this sport is frankly astonishing. You look at some of the names on that list, and obviously the names that have come through the ARCA program over the last several years. This is a team that has always strived to be as competitive as possible, and gone out and won, like I said, over 100 races throughout their time in this series with numerous different drivers, and presence that is going to be missed and going to be a little bit weird not to see them around next year as much. At least I know they're selling to Nitro, and I think Billy is going to be around for at least a couple of years to make sure that transition is as smooth as possible. So there will still be some involvement here from his side of things for a little bit, but to see whatever the Nitro Motorsports team has planned for next year, we'll still see kind of that team spirit, I guess, with that program, however long they're in the sport here. But it was certainly caught me off guard a little bit. I didn't expect to hear that going into this season, but like you said, Joe, it's been over 4 decades that they've been around in this series, and I think they certainly deserve to enjoy their retirement here, so to speak. And I think based on what that number 70 team did this year, winning several races with several different drivers themselves, I think that program is going to be in great hands over with the Nitro team.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when it comes to the team next year, how that all goes. Definitely out of left field for me. I did not see this coming, but I think at the same time, so it shows, well, folks want to get into the ARCA Menards series. They have a team owners ready to call it a career, sell the team, keep it running, and that's the big thing is, of course, the car count in ARCA, having a strong, solid field there. The one thing, of course, we know a lot of times with most ARCA teams, you need to bring the sponsorship. We saw Tony Branniger brought sponsorship, including Raising Cane's, which followed her to the truck series. Isabella has made her sponsorship big face of Toyota driving development program. You'll see her on Toyota ads. But we know with Toyota, there's a bit of a challenge when it comes to moving up. There's so few seats. Really, it's Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series, in the Cup Series. They have the 18 car in ARCA, which with the 18, if they weren't winning, it was the 28. They were winning. Could Isabella for 2026 return to ARCA and potentially with Joe Gibbs Racing in a Toyota, or should she be looking at the Craftsman Truck Series for 2026?
Well, it would be a great opportunity if she could get in that 18 car, or maybe Gibbs would bring the 81 out as a second entry for a couple of races. But I think that seat's going to be taken by Max Reeves for the foreseeable future. It's easy to forget. Max is only still 15 years old. He turned 16 this coming January of 2026. So there's still plenty of tracks that he's not even eligible to race at yet. I would expect he's probably going to compete for the ARCA East Championship for the next 2 years, and then maybe do one full season of ARCA when he turns 18. And so like I said, 2 to 3 years down the line, he obviously has his family connections with Cookout. That's going to fund that program for the foreseeable future, I think. So that seat's probably going to be taken. And then I imagine Max will follow the Ty Gibbs, William Sawalich, Sammy Smith path of looking for an Xfinity ride, or perhaps even a truck ride with Tricon from there. In terms of the truck series, I would rather see Isabella back in ARCA next year. I guess ideally with whatever the Nitro Motorsports program is going to look like. I think, obviously we've all seen what Corey Heim has done this year, and we expect, hopefully, keep your fingers crossed, he's too good for another year in the truck series. He's going to have an Xfinity or Cup program waiting for him next year to be announced. So that would, in theory, open up a seat. But, I hate to use Tony as an example here. Obviously, it hasn't been the season that she would have wanted, but it's proof that that jump is very big and very real. And just because you get into a top team's equipment like Tricon doesn't mean that there's going to be an immediate amount of success. Certainly, obviously Corey Heim is having an unprecedented amount of success this year. 10 race wins has never been done in a single season in this series. But even other drivers like Gio Ruggiero, Tanner Gray, they've had some modest success here still, looking to get into victory lane or be as successful, compete for championships like Corey Heim has the last few years. So I think that it would be a good opportunity, good equipment for her. She could maybe get in a truck for a few races next year. But in terms of what I would like to see Isabella Robusto doing full time in 26, it would probably be a second full season of ARCA and return to what I guess you could consider her former team. Again, it's a weird transition going on right now with the sale of Venturini to Nitro, but I would hope that there would still be a place for her, depending on what her sponsorship and backing from Toyota, Mobil One, Yahoo, and all their partners would look like. And I would imagine that's what she would prefer too, because obviously we all remember what happened to her a couple of years ago when she had the concussion and thought she was only going to be out for a few races or a few weeks, and it really derailed the rest of her season. That said, to me, that she was 100% focused on her health and her long-term future and success in this sport. I would imagine she would keep the same philosophy when it comes to how quickly she wants to move up the ranks. And the fact that she's still looking for that ARCA victory, I would imagine has her probably wanting to come back to the series in 26 if such an opportunity arises for her.
I too would agree. I would like to see her in the ARC Menards series again, a second year. If everything works out with Nitro and they got a good deal, can't hurt to do it, especially with the experience level that now they'll have second year together. If somehow there was a 19 car or 20 car in ARCA for Joe Gibbs Racing, I would love to see her in that as well too, just equipment. But I would agree. I feel like the truck series, we know that is a step up, but we know there's been drivers that have bypassed the truck series to Xfinity and then higher up to the Cup level. I think for Isabella, if she could have a good season, ARCA, get wins, contend for a championship, I think that could really help her long term. And okay, going to maybe the Xfinity series, skipping the trucks or doing the trucks, but just saying, here's my resume with all these wins and accomplishments. That'll just add a lot more value, and I think help with the sponsorship gain that every driver faces. Of course, ARCA, the ARCA West Series, they still have Phoenix. Catherine Legg, she is in Las Vegas. The Cup Series are in Las Vegas this weekend for the South Point 400, and she is in the field. She's going to be starting 38th. She was 2 seconds off the pace. We know practice, you only get an hour. And if you're having to come in to make some major adjustments, you're missing out on track time. Then you go down and qualify. It's really a big setback if you're a small team like the 78 Live Fast Motorsport. Compared to where she was, though, in Phoenix back in March, where first race start, had issues early, got caught up in a crash, to then where she started improving, especially in the road course, Mexico City, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Oval Dare had a great run. Where do you think Catherine Legg stands as a Cup Series driver? Grant is still rookie status without a doubt, but I feel like she has made some good improvements. And what would be a good day for her at Las Vegas?
I think a good day for her would probably be, again, just keeping the car clean in one piece and bringing it home in one piece. I don't know, but she's, again, the top 20s at Chicago and the Brickyard 400, I think were phenomenal. Obviously Vegas is a mile shorter than Indianapolis. I don't expect her to finish on the lead lap. Again, that's not an indictment on her. That's just, the equipment and the fact that, I expect we'll see some green flag racing, green flag runs there. But you're right, Joe. It is, along with JJ Yaley is back in the NY Racing 44 car, but those two are objectively in the two lowest funded, only open. I can't say that anymore, can I? With this lawsuit going on, I guess 2311 and Front Row technically open cars now as well. But the cars that started the season part time with open status, it's those two, and she's driving one of them. So she certainly has an uphill battle. But like I said earlier this year on this show, I honestly thought it would have maybe even made more sense for her to make her debut at Las Vegas than at Phoenix, or at 1.5 miles than short track, because you think of a short track, there's even fewer places to hide. The turns are more narrow. The track's obviously a lot shorter. You get lapped a lot quicker. Whereas I understand the rationale, the thinking process, just allowing her to do short tracks or approving her for short tracks first. But, when it comes to a driver like Catherine Legg, obviously she's the fastest woman in Indianapolis 500 qualifying history. I don't think the speed was the issue for her. The issue was getting used to the stock car and getting used to oval competition in stock car racing in a NASCAR Cup Series next gen car. And I think that challenge, was going to be present for her no matter where she made her debut. I think Vegas actually would have given her a little bit more space to work with on the track, to try different lines out and things like that, and be able to stay out of the way when the leaders were coming to lap her. So I think that now that she's had several races under her belt, she's had some strong finishes, she's kept the car clean in the handful of starts that she's had since then. I expect it'll go better than Phoenix for her, hopefully. You can never count out something happening around you and you having to react quickly. So we'll see what happens, but the qualifying speed here to be almost a full second off of even Yaley's pace, is certainly not ideal. I think that she's going to have to work on adjusting her car to make it right over the first stage, and that could lead her to maybe even be a lap down before the end of that, depending on if we get a green flag run there. So like I said, it's going to be an uphill battle, but I think if she can keep the car in one piece, come home, probably there'll be a little bit of attrition, maybe squeeze a top 25 finish out of it. I think that would be a fantastic day for Catherine Legg in this extra race that she's added to her schedule here late in the season.
Top 25 will be wonderful for her. I think that'll be a really great accomplishment. And what a way for that Live Fast team to just have a good, strong run. Just a matter of, like you said, bringing home in one piece. Especially with the playoffs. We know there's times, some races where playoff drivers tend to have more bad luck, fall out. Vegas may or may not be that type of track. Just depends on how all the racing action plays out. But capitalize on the mistakes of others and advancing, that could be huge for her and that team to advance in the race and get a better position. With that said, we are out of time, Ben. But before we go, and we encourage everyone to share their shining moments. I know haven't been on the air for a while, but the last few race weekends, is there a shining moment that stands out for you?
Well, Leah Block, I think, is the obvious one with her Singapore Grand Prix victory. And Joe, I don't know, maybe you can bounce off of this a little bit. I certainly am a much more casual IMSA viewer, but Lila Wadu last night, as we're recording this here on Sunday afternoon, I believe the first class winner at Petit Le Mans in 20 years, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
So a great result for her and that team, and certainly worthy of a shining moment on our show here today.
Yeah, I remember when I saw she got her name. It was on this program years ago when we had our partnership with Daniel Zeri. He'll talk about her over in Europe to see her come to the United States, do this, and get that top finish at Petit Le Mans. What an effort. So big congrats to her. Leah Block, that's obviously one, too. For me, another one I'm going to look at is when it comes to just what this year has been about for the W Series. F1 Academy. W Series, the prior one, but F1 Academy, this championship has been, I think, a good example of if you want to follow a series with a great championship, this is it. They use the same system as Formula 1 when it comes to 25 points down to 10th place, getting 1 point. They threw in some bonus points. They threw in another race, a shorter distance race, where the top 8 are inverted, but there's less points since the pole center is not there. I just think this has been so far a perfect combination of how a points system could allow close competition and a close points battle, even if you have a driver that may anticipate was going to pull away. We saw that last year with Abby pulling. Nobody was stopping her. Doriane Pin, she has a challenger, Maya Weug. I cannot wait for Las Vegas, and I think that's going to be a ton of fun. So overall, encourage everyone to subscribe, hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of our programming from Grid Wrap-Up. Following the conclusion of the NASCAR race, Grid Encore, Ben and Brandon will be on the air. Then Grid Tonight with Kobe, Josh, Matt, and then we'll be on the air again as we preview the Las Vegas round for the F1 Academy. For Ben, I'm Joe. Thank you for watching today's program. We'll see you next time, and enjoy the races.